Hello, I'm Fran Harrison. I'm the new Voscur rep on the Children and Young People's Partnership Board. We had a meeting in February and that was my first meeting. Beforehand, we all met together, the reps, to talk about the agenda, the papers from the meeting, so that we could get a common position and what we needed to feed into that meeting, and that was very good. And after the meeting, I've also had a conversation with Deborah, the chair of the Partnership Board, and we've talked about the best way of making use of the voluntary sector. Now, what I've said to her is that I don't feel as if I'm just a conduit, just channeling information backwards and forwards, but I'm also there to try and work out, agenda item by agenda item, what are the interests there for the voluntary sector and how should we be pushing ourselves forward and making sure that we are fully involved and acknowledged for our contribution and resourced properly for that. Deborah has offered to come 15 minutes early before each meeting, so the voluntary sector reps there will be having a discussion with her about what's coming up. And so I think that's the beginning of having more focus on the voluntary sector. And we receive reports from the 3 workstream groups and from the safeguarding group. And I felt there, which was what was interesting to me, we had a report on the growing number of NEET young people, that's not in education, employment and training. And what's concerning really is that the rate has increased in each of the last 2 months. So for those of us working with the most vulnerable young people, it is a worry that this is the increasing number that aren't getting involved. Although there were some positive figures about the number of people in work that had training as part of that work, and also the number of young people in learning. There was a very important paper from the safeguarding group, and of course the focus from Baby P means that this is going to be a continuing focus for the partnership board as well. And we talked under that heading about the training that the voluntary sector needed for commissioned work there, and making sure that the confusion over referrals was eliminated so that the voluntary sector could play its part better. Under the prevention and early intervention report, just recently this year we've had a commissioning round, and that was quite an interesting piece to see, because the voluntary sector did particularly well in that commissioning round, you'll be pleased to hear. The Voscur training obviously was an important factor there, because it was noted that the statutory bids had been of a poorer quality and hadn't succeeded, whereas the voluntary sector had. Performance and meeting our LAA targets in terms of attainment were disappointing as far as BME groups are concerned, and also there is some concern about teenage pregnancies rising, and although this is a national problem, there's a huge amount of work that has been going on in Bristol about reducing teenage pregnancies, and it obviously isn't keeping the figures in a downward trend at all. So for the next meeting, what we've got on the agenda already are an item on teenage pregnancies and also on the BME strategy, which should be a good focus point for the voluntary sector, and also a report on safeguarding. Now that I've had that first meeting, I'll be in a much better position to know how the voluntary sector can make its impact in that group. So I hope you'll all be in touch with me. Thanks.